Welcome to oh my God. Welcome to Funky's World. Anyway, I got my genetic results back on paper as well as meeting with the genetic counselor yesterday. I didn't do anything else yesterday. I have a mutation in the KMT2C chromosome that is called Kleefster syndrome type 2. There are only 250 of us in the world. Leave it to me, as my parents would say. But if you look at the clinical features, okay, intellectual disability, yes, I have a mild intellectual disability. Developmental delay, yes. Autism spectrum disorder, yes. Behavior problems, yes, to some degree when I was a kid. Hypotonia, no, in my case, I have cerebral palsy, so I have a hypertonia. It just means the muscle tone and how tight the muscles are. Epilepsy, no. Scoliosis, yes. Short stature, oh hell yes. Microcephaly, yes. So yeah, basically this is me in a nutshell. I was just reading it with my jaw on the floor. I'm like, so. Yeah, there is actually a reason. Wow, I was just dumbfounded by this. The only thing I didn't have was seizures and speech delay, pretty much, and I didn't regress developmentally. For those of you who say that this came from the MMR, it's in your genes, folks. Get a clue. Like I said, there are only 250 of us diagnosed at this point. They expect the numbers to increase because obviously we're doing more testing. We know about the variant now, we're doing more testing. So that number is naturally going to increase. So yeah, there are only 250 people diagnosed with my genetic syndrome as of now. So, and she said they are diagnosing more and more as the SPARC study DNA goes through and is completed. So, which is great. That's a great thing about SPARC. I also just joined Simon's Searchlight, which is another group similar to SPARC, only they concentrate on the gene variants and the things caused by the gene variants. So I signed up to join them. I had to send them my SPARC lab report and to show the KMT2C, and I have counseling in an hour, a little less than an hour, and I will be talking to him about it because it's incredible. It truly is. And it's like, you know, all the years of, it's like you want to cry because all the years of being ostracized in school, made fun of, feeling different, wondering why you were different. It's like, well, not only do you have autism, but you have an actual physical genetic reason why you have it. And there's a genetic reason why you're a foot and a half shorter than the rest of your family. You know, I thought I just got more short genes than other members of my family. I mean, my father was on the short side for a man. He's only 5'7", relatively on the short side for a man. So my mother was tall for a woman. She was 5'7". Actually, she was 5'8" at one point because she was taller than my father. And I remember being in awe of that as a little kid, sitting behind them in the back seat and seeing my mother actually taller than my father. That just didn't happen. My mother was taller than my father, you know? And so, oh, for pity's sake, be quiet. Walmart, you don't have to thank me for using your pharmacy every time I fill a prescription. That's what that was both times, because I looked at it on here, but I didn't look at it on the phone, so it went off again. So yeah, it's, wow. I'm going to leave links to Spark and to Simon's Searchlight in the description because there are a lot of variants that Simon's Searchlight is working on. Gene variants, not just the KMT2C, but also a lot of other ones. So I will leave the link for anyone. And I encourage people to go through programs like Spark and get the genetic testing. There have to be programs for other disorders that are genetic that will give you the genetic testing. They're very lucky to have the funding to do it, you know, and very important that we keep that funding up for them, for all these organizations to do this testing. Simon's Searchlight will do more in-depth testing, which is great. They actually take blood, which, hey, yeah, do it. You know, if I can help, even if it doesn't help me directly, maybe it can help someone else. It can help further the research. So a 6-year-old who has it now can be diagnosed now and won't have their world look like mine did when I was 6 years old in 1980. You know what I mean? And beyond that. The best way I can describe how I felt growing up, I felt like I didn't belong in the space that I was put in. It's almost like when people say they're in the wrong body, they feel like they should be, you know, the opposite gender or whatever. But for me, it wasn't about that at all. I didn't even care about that. It was about feeling like I should be somewhere else. Like I don't fit in the place where I was dropped. Do you know what I mean? And I can't wait to talk to my counselor about this. Well, that's because I had something nobody knew about. Nobody understood autism in females then, and certainly not chromosomal genetic variants. I mean, heck, the only one they really understood was Down syndrome at the time, you know? So I'm so lucky that I live at a time where I can get those answers. But it makes you grieve what could have been, you know? Had you been recognized for what you had, how could things have been different? How could you have felt more okay in your own skin? How could you have been made to feel like, yeah, you belong with these people even though you're a little different than they are? That's okay. this is how we're going to structure it so you feel more like you belong. You know what I mean? And I want some little kid today to have that experience and not the experience that I had growing up. Coming home from school crying every day, being beat up by boys, just the miserable time that I had because I was different. I was weird. I was, back in the 50s, they would have called it queer, but it doesn't mean gay. Queer, the word means weird. I don't know when it became gay, but the word means weird. And in the 50s, that's what they would have called it. Oh, she's rather queer. She's rather weird. So just to clarify what that means, it means weird. And so I was considered weird. I was considered, and I did have some aggressiveness issues, and I was very pushy. And it's like, wow. Reading that was like, you explained my life in a single chromosomal boo-boo, you know? And it's like, and please understand, it's not an excuse for sometimes being a jerk when I was a kid. It's not. I'm just saying it goes further in the explanation of why I was different. And by continuing to help, by giving my blood to Simon's Searchlight, once they approve me, they're looking at my paperwork. It'll be about 2 weeks. If they want my blood, they can have my blood. Because you know what? I'm going to help some little kid that doesn't feel like they belong in the place where they were dropped to feel like they belong there. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. You know, people will say, I don't feel like I belong in this body because I feel like I'm a male or a female, depending on which gender you were assigned at birth. But it's a different feeling. It's a similar feeling, but it's a different feeling. You don't feel like you belong around the people you were dropped into the middle of because you're totally different from them. You don't relate. And it's like, where do I belong? You know? And so it's amazing. And I'm going to go make a Facebook video about this as well, because actually I might just do a Facebook Live, because I think it's important. It's incredible to have even further answers that I was not expecting. I honestly wasn't expecting anything to come of the DNA, but now that it has, I want to help others with it. I'm almost 52 years old. I've learned to cope. I've learned to live in a world where I'm a little weird. And I've grown up and I've matured and I've learned coping mechanisms for some of my weirdness. And you know, if my uncle and my grandfather said, you haven't grown a bit. Nope, that's because I have a genetic disorder that makes me not grow a bit. You know? Of course, you have to remember, my grandfather, not my biological grandfather, but the one that I considered to be my grandfather, as close as a biological grandfather, was like 6.5 feet tall. And so were both of his sons. So I come up to here from my uncles. I kid you not. So it's natural that they would say that because I'm so short compared to them. You know, when you're 4'8" and your uncle's 6'5", you know. So there's a big difference there. So yeah, and I need to call my Aunt Barb. I am so happy. I just want to cry. Happy tears, you know? So thank you so much for joining me. God bless you. Please share this with others. I think it's so important. not seeing my mug or hearing me, but hearing what I'm saying. Put it on the background for someone and let them listen. It's important. Oh, I learned something else too. I've always had a difference in hearing between my ears, and my hearing test showed that certain levels of sound I couldn't hear well, but that I could hear well enough. I didn't need hearing aids or anything. I could hear pretty much normally, but there were certain levels of sound. And I noticed it in my headphones. I always have. That one side is much clearer and much easier to hear than the other side. That comes from that variant too, as does my crossed eye, my strabismus. I mean, it's crazy. So please, this thing is, and all of these genetic variants and all the weird things that they cause can now be looked for. And the more people that get tested, the more variants are going to pop up. So I can use my life for good. I can use my life, my experiences, my blood, my saliva to help others. I'm thinking about, like I said, the 6 or 7-year-old that's coming home from school crying every day that just doesn't feel like they belong. Like they feel out of whack with everything around them. I want to help them. I want to help their teachers and their parents have the tools to help them fit and understand what's going on with them. That's my goal. Because my parents and my teachers didn't have those tools. My mother would be so excited, but she would be on the phone to her sister, which I do have to do. So I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. God bless you.